Welcome to the Fall 2020 Convocation Keynote Address. The event is about to begin. Please ensure that the audio level on your device is turned up to optimal listening levels. Thank you. Welcome to the Fall 2020 Convocation Keynote Address. The event is about to begin. Please ensure that the audio level on your device is turned up to optimal listening levels. Thank you.
In our rapidly changing world, lives change every day. Now it's CSU Pueblo's turn to change. We all have an idea of who we want to be, of what we want to do, and where we want to go. And for those who are part of our pack, that idea can become reality. Because at Csu Pueblo, we don't just change minds. We change sparks of interest into burning passions and unbridled potential into unlimited possibilities. Put simply, we change lives. And all those changes start right here. They start with on-campus, online, and hybrid classes and programs of every kind, with individualized attention and personalized guidance. They start with a thriving campus community and a sense of togetherness. But most of all, change starts with you. You have an idea of who you want to be, what you want to do, and where you want to go. And after going here, your life can go anywhere, because that's what Csu Pueblo is. Life changing.
Good morning. Let me make sure this is on. There we go. Good morning to the few of you who are with me in person, but I'd like to welcome all of the folks who are joining us today from the live stream. I know that the live stream allows us to have a larger reach, and I think I've got a few folks probably in Boston, Massachusetts. I just wanted to extend a special welcome to my mentor, Dr. Marilyn Root, and her husband, Dr. Robert Root. I welcome both of you to the live stream along with the community of Csu Pueblo and all of the other friends of our university. Before I get started, I know it's a bit cliche because people do this, but I'm going to do it because I think it's history making. I'd like to get a selfie of all of the few of you. I'm hoping this is the last time we ever have this opportunity, but I would like this for the history books to record opening Convocation during a pandemic, and I hope it's not frequented again. So if you'll help just smile with your eyes, and we will do this. So here. In our semester during a worldwide pandemic. This is day 154. If anyone is keeping track of the number of days of COVID, we started marking this on March 17th, which was close to the day when the university went to online learning and remote learning. And so Donna reminds us on a daily basis on what day we are on, and we are on day 154. And those, ladies and gentlemen, that's a long 154 days. But it's been a very good learning experience. It's been a challenge, but it's also been a good learning experience. I'd like to welcome all of you to the new school year, to our Convocation week that is titled Life Changing, Navigating Life in a Rapidly Changing World. The title of my presentation for the opening Convocation is simply Navigating. And on August 9th of last year, when we introduced our new within our students, allowing them to navigate a rapidly changing world. Ladies and gentlemen, we are navigating that rapidly changing world along with our students. We're learning simultaneously here, and I'm proud of our navigation skills. We have been resilient, we have been agile, and we are solving problems. I'd like to offer some thanks to the Convocation team who made the week a possibility and who made today's live stream a possibility. In no particular order, these individuals that I'd like to thank include Nikki Toussaint, Lisa Chavez, Helen Capriolio, Craig Kaysen, Keelan Bailey, Haley Sue Robinson, Gina Alfonso, Tracy Samora, Herman, John Valdez, Cindy Sufian, Lee Macaluso, Adam Pocius, Brent Lorenz, Renee Wall, Natasha Brandstatter, Noel Sansusi, Ana Maria Salgado, and Donna Sutter Hodge. A very special thanks to all of them. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the men and women that I had the opportunity of serving on the cabinet, the senior leadership team of our university, and many of them are with us today. This is a team that we meet probably throughout the summer too frequently as a result of getting ready for this semester. But I've grown to depend on these individuals and love these individuals, and I'm honored to be going through a pandemic with all of them. They include Mr. Greg Hoy, Executive Director of Marketing, Communications, and Community Relations, Ms. Kat Abernathy, Director of Human Resources and Institutional Equity, Dr. Marie Humphrey, Senior Associate Vice President of Student Affairs and Dean of Students, Dr. Paul Polinsky, our Director of Athletics, Mr. Chris Milliken, Executive Director of Information Technology, Dr. Donna Sutter Hodge, Executive Director of Organizational Development and our Chief Strategy Officer and our Chief COVID Coordinator, Ms. Nikki Toussaint, our Chief of Staff, Ms. Chrissy Holliday, Vice President of Enrollment Management, Communication, and Student Affairs, Mr. Alejandro Rojas Sosa, our Vice President of Finance and Administration, and finally, Dr. Mohammed Abdulrahman, our Executive Vice President of Academic Affairs and the Provost of the university. There are also two other individuals who serve as consultants to the senior leadership team. I offer them a special thanks today. Mr. Todd Kelly, the CEO of the Csu Pueblo Foundation, and Ms. Jonna Doyle, our Deputy General Counsel for the CSU system. With me today, I'm very proud to have with us Ms. Carla Barela, President of Cortez Construction. Down in front, Carla is a member of the President's Citizens Advisory Group, and she gives me advice on a regular basis, and she just gave it to me this morning. I said, Carla, I don't want to get used to this, living in a pandemic. And she looked at me and she goes, Tim, get used to it. That's sage advice, and I will, but I'm glad you're here. Carla has been, Carla periodically kidnaps me from my office, and we do day tours of different neighborhoods within the city of Pueblo, and she's introduced me to so many unique neighborhoods and so many individuals in this city that I probably would not have an opportunity to meet, and we will be doing that again this semester. So I'm indebted to you, Carla, for this introduction to Pueblo that has been very special, going on year 4 now. I'd also like to extend a special thanks to Mr. Rick Gonzalez, my spouse. I thank Rick for all the support you provide to me and to this university. You make me a better president, and I thank you for everything that you do. And then I'd like to thank all the new employees to the university, since we recognize new employees in every convocation. Our last one was in January of 2020. Since that time, here's what I'd like you to do. If you are a new employee of the university since January of 2020, I don't care where you are, I'd like you to stand, and I'd like for everyone to applaud this group of new employees to our university. We're thrilled to have you with us, and I always say this as well. For all of the new employees at the university, there's a search committee that has invested numerous hours in recruiting you and identifying you and going through that process. So for those of you who served on all of the search committees for the new employees, I want to thank you for doing that level of service that I consider to be the most important service that an employee can provide to a university. So today, I will provide you with new information that I think is important as we embark on our new semester. Number two, I'd like to inspire you, hopefully, and I'm going to do that by sharing with you how our employees inspire me. Third is we're going to talk about what we've achieved as a community. And then fourth, we're going to talk about navigating the semester that's in front of us and laying out a pathway and some of our priorities. But before we move forward, I want to share some ideas that are on all of our minds. And let me go back here, get running for and that is, how are we going to operate a university during a pandemic? That is the big, bold question of today. We can offer a face-to-face experience, but should we be offering a face-to-face experience and a more restricted experience for the students of this university? So why are we doing this? Why not just become an online university like some universities are doing? So I'd like to take just a few minutes and talk about this. We believe there's three central beliefs that I wanted to articulate. One is we believe that many of our students need a face-to-face instruction to ensure their success. We know because we did a study last year when we compared the spring of 2020 to spring of 2019 that we had fewer students completing our semester, which does not support the mission of this university. We also believe that many of our faculty and staff need to be with our students in a face-to-face instruction to reach their instructional goals. And we also believe that we can work together as a community to protect each other, our students, and meet the health and the learning needs of our students in a more restricted learning environment. Why do we believe this? Number one, Colorado, I believe, is managing this pandemic better than a lot of our other states. Every morning when I look at a map, it is our state that is often not illuminated. And I'm very proud of that. So I think we've done a fine job of managing this within the state of Colorado. Number two, educate ourselves and prepare the campus. We have spent the last 154 days being a student of COVID. We have devoured every piece of information that we could get our hands on. We've attended, I don't know how many webinars we've attended, but we've educated ourselves about this virus, and we're making what I believe to be conservative and smart decisions. We've also shared what we've learned with you in over 30 publications and up to 10 videos. So as we become students and as we learn, we share that information with all of you in numerous communications that have happened in the last 154 days. I would ask all of you to go back and to review those communications, because embedded in all of that is really the pathway forward for this university. We have good partners. We are partnering with Pueblo County Health every step of the way, and we're also partnering very closely with Colorado's Department of Higher Education. Every decision, everything that we are doing is in lockstep with what we're hearing from Pueblo County Health as well as Colorado's Department of Higher Education. The fourth and final reason why we're doing this, while we are offering a more restricted teaching and learning experience for the fall semester, rather than simply being an online university, is our attempt to preserve employment. Specifically, online universities offer reduced tuition, and in many cases, they do not have student fees. Online universities offer reduced services. Online universities have significantly fewer employees. We are working because we believe we can manage the health risk, mitigate that risk, keep ourselves healthy as a community with all the protocols that have been put in place, and still meet the needs of our students to have more of a restricted face-to-face environment for our faculty, staff, and our students. I also wanted to share the following with you. I've heard some criticism, and criticism is good. It keeps us smart. I believe in receiving criticism, that we are operating differently than our Fort Collins campus. And as a result, we may be putting more of our employees at risk. I would like to address, as always, we operate operate as an autonomous campus and in a manner that meets the needs of our employees and our students. According to my conversations with President Joyce McConnell, the new president of Colorado State University, and their website, CSU Fort Collins is offering the majority of their classes in a face-to-face or a hybrid format. At our university in Pueblo, we too are offering 59% of our classes in a face-to-face or hybrid format. 42% of our curriculum is face-to-face, 27% is hybrid, with the remainder of that being exclusively in an online context. Fort Collins staff members are returning to their campus after they complete an application process to ensure that they do not have more than 50% of staff members on the campus at any one given time. They are staffing their campus up to 50%, which is following health code. And at CSU Pueblo, rather than going through this application process, because we are a significantly smaller campus, we are asking supervisors to staff their offices up to 50%. Our end result is the same, but our process is a little bit different. So this morning, as a part of just sharing information, I wanted to address the argument. Why are we working so hard? Why are we doing this? And I wanted you to know there are some really solid reasons as to why we are attempting to do what we're doing, which is also, I think, similar to many of the other colleges and universities in the state of Colorado. I don't see us as doing anything that is outside of the norm, if you will. And then I wanted to address some of how they are operating at Fort Collins, which is slightly different than what we're doing here at Pueblo. But we are a smaller campus and we will operate a little bit differently. I'd like to move us into inspiration. And my inspiration comes from all of you. It comes from the employees of this university. And this is my favorite part of every opening convocation, is where we talk about our stealth employees. A stealth employee is an employee who does his or her job. They do it underneath the radar screen. They lay low and they do really good work. This is our opportunity to expose them. And this is an opportunity that makes them incredibly uncomfortable because we're recognizing them and paying attention to them. And this is probably not what they desire, but this is what I think is important for us to do today. So I want you to know, for these employees, that we see you. And our job today is to make sure that we do see you. To discuss today and talk about why they are a self-employed and the inspiration that I receive from each of them. And I'd like to do that by a slow reveal, and our first one goes to Devin Hart. Devin was named Director of Sports Medicine in June of 2019 and has spearheaded significant growth in the care and treatment of 585 PAC student athletes. He manages a staff of 7 individuals who specialize in helping our student athletes improve their athletic performance, recover from injury, and prevent future injuries. He helped the athletic department successfully secure a multi-year corporate sponsorship with Parkview Medical Center. Thank you, Devin. In the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic, Devin stepped up wholeheartedly to prepare our facilities for the safe return of our staff and student athletes to the campus. He has been the primary medical contact for our coaches, staff, and student athletes this summer. Devin Hart, we see you. Our second is Geraldine Trujillo Martinez, who serves as the Director of Procurement Services and has continued to be an integral part of this campus for 24 years and counting. Currently, she oversees all activities in the university's procurement office and is invaluable to the university's daily operations. Geraldine can be counted on to help you meet your needs. She is often a resource for people seeking to solve unique problems. Geraldine has important institutional memory at this university that enables us to make very smart decisions, and we're grateful for that institutional memory. Geraldine Trujillo Martinez, we see you as well. Our employee is Frank Milbeck, who serves as the Student Technology Support Specialist since 2004. Frank and his colleagues were part of our campus COVID response to help our students transition from face-to-face to online. He models the way by aligning actions with shared values. Frank also challenges the process by searching for opportunities and looking outward for innovative ways to improve. He also experiments and takes risks by constantly generating small wins and learning from his experiences. I've had the fortunate opportunity of doing 2 big dog brag mud runs with Frank, and he is a champion out there in the mud. Our next, number 4, self-employed is Dr. Rashad Islam. Dr. Islam is an assistant professor in civil engineering technology. His teaching was heralded by students in the program as qualitatively among the best in the program. He delivered on the service side by serving as an advisor to students and the student chapter of the American Society of Civil Engineering. Dr. Islam's scholarly effort spans across many activities, including preparing and publishing several journal papers, and this summer published 2 books. And he did that in 1 year. Our next self-employed is Michael Simmons. Here we go. There you are, Michael. Michael Simmons serves as the Multimedia Classrooms Technician since 2016. Mike's colleagues were part of our campus COVID response to help our students transition from face-to-face to online. Recently, he has installed nearly every COVID classroom with the enhanced webcams and document cameras. 100 rooms has Michael's work in it. He has spent countless hours outside of his normal schedule to support building rooms to be the least disruptive and the most effective. He is a major self-employed who has gone unrecognized for probably too long. Ladies and gentlemen, a special thanks to our self-employed Michael Simmons. Our next is Courtney Gust. Courtney is the front desk assistant in admissions. With the change in the call routing and lack of a campus operator during transition to our remote work, Courtney has received a large volume of non-admissions calls for the campus and has had to work hard to learn about the multitude of items outside of the scope of her position to meet the needs of our students in that role. What her nominator is telling me is that she has become our operator. We're hoping to fix that problem soon. Courtney frequently stepped in to help with projects while the team also searched for the assistant director. Courtney handled each of these significant transitions without complaint and has continued to try to help others in the office whenever possible. Her positive attitude and constant willingness to help the team makes her indispensable to the university. We see you, Courtney Gust. Next is Carol Dougherty. Wow. We see Carol a lot this summer. She is the director of the Wolfpack Wellness Center and has taught classes as an adjunct faculty member in our School of Nursing. Most recently, Carol has been able to save the university $13,000, thank you, Carol, by partnering with CSU Fort Collins Health Network regarding a new electronic health record systems. On a daily basis, Carol portrays a kind, patient concern for others at CSU Pueblo. Finally, she has worked tirelessly to support the university during COVID-19, providing services, support, and care for all community members from the time that the university went remote to the current day. Carol Dougherty, we see you. Our next self-employed is Arlene Riley Sandoval. She has served as the chair of the Department of Social Work since 2017 and has been a part of our social work team on and off since 2001. Dr. Riley Sandoval has handedly took the reins, and she has, of social work to continue ushering in a new era for the department, the establishment of a Master's of Social Work degree. This fall, our Master of Social Work degree enters its second year with nearly 70 graduate students enrolled. Ladies and gentlemen, this is critical to the success of our university. It is a department under the leadership of a chair who argued we needed a master's degree. It maps to the economic development and the well-being of our community. And today, because of their decisions, 70 additional graduate students. Arlene also embraces and encourages community support and innovative efforts and community outreach, including the Campus Connections Mentoring Partnership with the Pueblo County Department of Human Services, led by her colleague, Dr. Pam Richmond. Arlene truly deserves recognition for all of her hard work and stealth contributions in creating opportunities and fostering unique collaborations. And I have to say, because I've worked with Arlene, she has been persistent in making sure that this program is successful. Our next stealth employee is Ami Baja Oniyayakwe. And I hope, Ami, I did that name appropriately. Ami is a visiting assistant professor and the coordinator of our newly developed simulation center in the New School of Nursing in the newly renovated Center for Integrated Health and Human Inquiry. Over the last year, she's been relentless in reviewing systems for best practice for our design in the center. This has been an effort to coordinate the learning management system with the new construction of our IT to bring the dream of a state-of-the-art simulation and lab center to fruition. Ami has come in on weekends, has worked late hours, and keeps the focus on what we need to get done to get ready for the 300 plus students who will be utilizing this technology for training as future nurses and nurse practitioners this fall. Ami, we probably didn't see you this summer coming in on weekends to your office, but we see you now. Thank you. The next two gentlemen I saw this morning in the hallway, and I'm delighted to introduce them as the next two, and they were nominated together. Matthew Cesario is a library technician, and Kenneth McKenzie is an assistant librarian. They are being nominated together as they are and have been the glue of the Lark front circulation desk. They are always there opening the library at 7 a.m., ensuring each employee receives a warm welcome and comforting smile. If anyone is locked out of his or her office for some reason, they are quick to assist and get the staff in, or to carry heavy loads if they see staff with arms full of equipment or supplies as they enter the building. They hire many student employees to staff the front circulation desk. Matt and Kenny may not realize that they are helping the Career Center because they are preparing our students for the real world of work every day, and our students are better for their leadership. During the COVID-19 changes, Kenny personally retrieved and mailed items to some patrons at his own expense. He takes each request seriously and quietly goes the extra mile for each person. If you know both of these gentlemen, they are quiet, and it's time for us to recognize them today. Their nominator stated that these two are some of the most deserving of being acknowledged for their stealth employee honor, and they don't expect praise for what they do, but they make a difference every day, and they make that difference quietly and humbly. So we salute both of them. Our next is Dr. Hibuen Kwan, professor in the Hassan School of Business, has reached out to students and junior colleagues to mentor them and to include them in his research projects. As a service to the campus and the community, he included 2 entire classes of students in an applied research project regarding organizational purchasing practices in Pueblo County that had to require just a lot of logistics. He is a scholarly role model for the HSB students and faculty. He publishes 2 to 3 peer-reviewed scholarly journal articles every year since 2012. Dr. Kwan has served on a variety of campus boards and committees, including Faculty Senate and a number of committees within the HSB. Our next stealth employee is our number 13, and that is Ms. Abby Davison. She is the director of the Science Learning Center. She is the assistant director of CBASE, and she's serving very well as the chair of the Administrative Professional Council. She has quietly and confidently been working behind the scenes and with a large number of colleagues in making sure that tutoring support is continued and thriving at CSU Pueblo in spite of the pandemic. And I hope she knows it. Well, I know she knows how much I appreciate that, because I told her that tutoring our students and providing them with the support during the pandemic is critical as part of our learning system at the university. She quickly moved services online to a new platform in the spring. She, like this, the nominator states, she has been unofficially bringing together all tutoring services on campus and is largely efforts at remote tutoring for the fall. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a leader. Unofficially doing this because it needs to be done. Thank you, Abby. Her efforts have provided immense student support during a tumultuous time, and I have utmost confidence in her abilities, said her nominator. All this is done while remaining largely under the radar screen. Abby Davison, we see you. The 14th is, I know this is well-deserved for all of our colleagues in the College of Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences, and this is Tricia Pocious. Her extensive institutional experience provides her with a uniquely valuable perspective on how to best solve problems and critically analyze the impact potentials solutions may have across multiple constituencies. Most recently, Tricia worked with the committee that revised the room schedules for the fall 2020 classes across campus to address COVID-19 related that more than 500 courses in Chaz alone were scheduled in appropriate spaces according to course modality, needs, and social distancing requirements. Again, a lot of logistics. Tricia Pocious goes above and beyond her regular duties, not desiring any special recognition or awards. I also salute Tricia Pocious for the number of contracts that come to my office for signature, because the contracts are very complicated in Chaz, and she oversees all of those complicated contracts, and I'm appreciative of her work. Our 15th stealth employee is Miss Lynette Leachman. She's an administrative assistant who worked for the Dean of the College of Engineering Education and Professional Studies, and recently transitioned to the School of Nursing. While maintaining her former position, Lynette went beyond and started to assist nursing with its administrative needs after a number of HR transitions in their administrative office had occurred. By stepping up to the plate, she helped keep the nursing department supplied with simulation and lab equipment, answering calls so students had a contact with the person while still maintaining the duties within the Keep's dean. What the nominator is not saying or is saying is she did two jobs for the price of one. So we see you, Lynette Leachman, and we thank you for that work. And then our 16th and final is Mr. Jason Engel. He is currently the online graduate degree program lead in Extended Studies. In his prior position as the Extended Studies advisor, he was invaluable to the growth and expansion of the Independent Study program. He worked to develop our new interdisciplinary studies degree for students to close the graduation gap, which is also a Vision 2028 initiative. In fact, in a single year, he had 16 new students re-enroll at Csu Pueblo to finish their degree, and he had 5 students graduate from the degree in the first year. Again, this is an employee who is really tuned in to the goals of this university and allowing that to become a reality, bringing our students back to the fold who have some college but no degree. Also, Jason doesn't shy away from additional work, and he stepped up to serve in the spring of 2020 as the interim Colorado Springs site manager after the prior manager left the university. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have 16 remarkable employees who do their work. They lay low, they do good work, and often are not recognized. And this is our opportunity to recognize them. So what I'd like, I think this deserves a standing ovation. So wherever you are, if you would stand and join me in applauding this group of remarkable employees. Thank you. We're not done with the inspiration. There's another group that I'd like to recognize, and this is a group that has spent literally hundreds of hours in helping our campus get ready for the fall semester. And we call this team award recognition the COVID-19 Response Team Award. And these are the individuals that I'd like to personally, and for the university, on behalf of the university, thank for the work that they've done throughout the summer, getting us ready to protect ourselves and our students and conduct a fall semester. And they include Craig Kaysen, Marie Humphrey, Carol Dougherty, Kat Abernathy, Jennifer Martin White, David Hurt, Casey Robinson, Chris Fendrick, Devin Hart, and their fearless leader, Donna Sauter-Hodge. This is a group that has really done a remarkable amount of work in a short amount of time and made some important decisions. I'd also like to extend a very special thanks to Donna Sauter-Hodge. I appointed her to be our COVID response team coordinator early on when I realized that we needed one person to kind of pull together all the information. Donna, I believe, has earned a PhD in COVID out of necessity, not because it's something that she desired. But the other thing I want Donna to know is the cabinet has grown to depend on her as a source of information and accurate information to be able to decipher through and to get to information that has been corroborated and information that allows the university to make important decisions. She has been able to educate us, keep us informed, and allowing the rest of the leadership team to do the other work of the university. But if this work had not been done, we would not be here today. So I'm going to ask Donna to come forward and receive this award from the university on behalf of all of us and on behalf of the COVID response team. That's the inspiration. Next, I'd like to, and I think this is also inspiration. What's inspiring to me is the amount of work we've done in a year and the type of work that we've done. So I'd like to spend a little bit of time discussing that work and expressing my gratitude for how the university is evolving and moving forward with the fulfillment of our Vision 2028. And I'd like to begin that by just reintroducing the university's goals. These goals remain critical to this institution, and they include expanding our appeal, enhancing student success in developing our people. Every day, I want to remind you that if you're not doing something at your work site that's going to contribute to these goals, we are off task. We are not aligned. And to help you understand these three institutional goals that are designed to allow us to be the university for all people, these three goals allow us to reach that vision. But over the summer, I've done some observing, and I'm going to explain, and I'm going to articulate my observations. And for each of these observations, I want you to map it to one of the three goals of the university. I want you to be able to see what the work means and how the work is aligned to these goals. And these are all actual observations. This is nonfiction. I've observed these. So I'll begin with, were you the employee who reached out to a prospective student from New Mexico and mailed her a t-shirt and included your business card in the package? You know who you were. And this is an example of an employee who is expanding our appeal. Were you the employee I overheard talking about how excited you were to be taking a graduate course from Professor Holman in the Hassan School of Business? Again, an observation. It maps directly to one of the three goals of the university. Were you the employee who scheduled a Zoom call with a struggling student on a Saturday to help the student complete an assignment that she missed because she was taking care of her grandparents? Were you the employee who called the student back to let her know that the class that she wanted was now available in a hybrid modality? Were you the employee I saw the other day using a weed eater to make sure the edges along the sidewalk are groomed and clean? I also saw you later that day picking up trash and putting it into your back pocket. Were you the employee who watched Brené Brown's TED Talk on the power of vulnerability and you recommended it to others in your work unit? Ladies and gentlemen, these are just observations and me lurking a bit. Our behaviors years. These are habits that are forming that map to the three important goals of this institution, allowing us to be a university for all people. And I'm grateful for how you're aligning your work to those three goals. I would like to move this conversation forward and talk specifically about four major areas of achievement that I'm very proud of, and I want to take today as an opportunity to express my gratitude. Meeting students' needs, developing our employees, evolving our curriculum, and building our infrastructure. I want to begin with meeting students' needs. We are a more student-focused university today than in the past. Because of our increased use of instructional technology, we're meeting the needs of our students by making courses and other services, including student affairs, the recreation center, and tutoring available in multiple formats, adding much-needed scheduling flexibility and using a learning management system in a much more consistent manner. As we introduce Banner in the fall of 2021, we're going to have a more integrated learning and support system that allows all of us to have access to data that's going to help us navigate where we need to go to make sure that our students are successful. We are developing our employees. 6 of our faculty have been promoted to tenure and associate professor. And I know this afternoon that Dr. Abdulrahman will be recognizing these employees. But I want to tell you today, receiving tenure at a university is the highest honor that is bestowed upon an employee in the academy. It's the highest honor given to a faculty member. So I know who these individuals are, and I thank them. But I want us, this is a part of how we develop our people. To be promoted requires that you meet a certain set of requirements. And in fact, you meet and exceed them. So I congratulate this group. We've also developed a promotional path for our lecturers to senior lecturer. This was moved through the Faculty Senate. I'm grateful for that, to give a promotional pathway for our lecturers who do a lot of the teaching at the university. We depend on them a lot, is what I'm trying to say. At the division level, I know that Chrissy Holliday has, for the past 2 years, been providing training and development in the areas of interpersonal relations and ways of enhancing customer service with her employees. COVID-19 faculty have redesigned 50 courses using instructional designers from Beyond Campus Innovations, which is a subsidiary of CSU Global. I want to thank them for taking courses and working with an instructional designer to make sure that those courses are ideally and optimally suited for the online environment. And since July 13th, 100 faculty have completed a 10-hour course titled Creating and Teaching an Online Hybrid Course with the help of Denise Henry and Adam Poshis, and I'm sure others that I'm not mentioning. I would just like to thank everyone for investing in your own learning and for helping us develop our bench strength. I'd also like to, very proud of our curriculum. As you know, I'm starting year 4, and when I look over the past 3 years, the evolution of our curriculum is very impressive. We've expanded the graduate curriculum, which is one of the priorities of Vision 2028. We now have graduate programming in athletic training, social work, as I already mentioned. The nursing department, the School of Nursing, has expanded their portfolio of graduate programs in nursing, including the Doctorate of Nursing Practice. Today, it gives me great pleasure in recognizing our first 2 Doctorates of Nursing Practice. This is history-making for the university to have our first 2 doctoral candidates who've completed their degrees in nursing practice. We're going to recognize them on Thursday at the ribbon-cutting ceremony of the new Center for Integrated Health and Human Inquiry. But I'd like for you to know that we now have Drs. Katie Foshural and Dr. Rhonda Orndoff. They are the first 2 doctoral students to graduate from this institution. I'd also like to thank Dr. Susan Belport for ushering them through this process. I'm grateful to Susan and all the work of the faculty in our School of Nursing. interdisciplinary studies in health sciences. We have the first Bachelor of Applied Sciences in Health Science and Administration. Our Board of Governors over the past 2 meetings have approved over 40 certificate programs that map to the additional credentials needed for members of our community to advance their degrees. Much innovation around degrees programs that are occurring in our Extended Studies division. I'm grateful for the amount of innovation in the degree programs coming out of Extended Studies. We have new undergraduate degrees in cannabis, biology, and chemistry, and a set of new degree programs that have recently been approved by the Board of Governors to support our evolving new school of creativity and practice. I salute everyone who is responsible for the evolution of our curriculum. Again, it's a lot of work. And then finally, building our infrastructure, which has really been the focus of Vision 2028 funding. I'd like to hit on several areas. First is the technology infrastructure of this university has been in need of some help for a long time, and that help is coming. Blackboard, we transitioned into the cloud. And so that transition, I'm proud of that work. I thank those who made that a possibility. I believe Slate is now up and running, which is an online platform that allows us to communicate with our prospective students. We've leveraged that resource with the help of our colleagues at the system level and in Fort Collins. And again, through that partnership, we're introducing Banner. Banner is a large project that is going to overhaul much of how we do our work at the university. We'll be introducing that in the fall semester of 21. Just recently, we've had another technology infrastructure upgrade with our e-contracting process. We've been able to move into a total electronic approval process for all contracts, eliminating an enormous amount of paper. And so I'm grateful to Alan Bruning and Howard Campbell, the leads on this project, who've invested hundreds of hours in getting us ready for this. I also thank Nikki Toussaint, Lisa Chavez, our entire HR team, Vicki Becker, Tricia Pocius, and Dr. William Folkestad for helping us guide us through the e-contracting process. We've had upgrades to marketing. We now have public information, community relations, marketing, social and digital media, and the web development. If you're aware of all of that, that is the gratitude and the support that we've been able to provide to marketing. We have a significant energy infrastructure upgrade. As you know, a third party is leasing our land and installing a 23-acre solar farm right now at an estimated cost of $16.5 million. We will purchase back our solar power at an escalation rate of 3.5% rather than the usual 6%, with a projected savings of $3.6 million to the university. We hope to flip the solar switch in February of 2021. I believe we'll be the first, if not one of the only few universities to be completely powered by the sun in February. I'm very proud of all the efforts of Craig Kaysen and others who made that a possibility. And then the athletics infrastructure has also been upgraded with a new track, with a new technology platform in the Cesario Arena, a new upgrade that is totally donor-funded that will be taking place at the ball fields, the baseball and the softball fields. So I wanted to share this information today, meeting students' needs and how we're doing that, developing our employees, and expanding and evolving our curriculum and building our infrastructure. I hope you can see how each of these achievements have contributed to the three institutional goals of expanding our appeal, enhancing our student success, and developing our people. The three institutional goals that will allow us to be a university for all people, the People's University. And when I look at that list, it's exhausting because it's the amount of work that has gone into each of those initiatives. I remain grateful to all of our leads and to the leadership team for making that a possibility. I'd also like to, at this time, thank a very special group, and that is the men and women, the trustees, and the leadership of the Csu Pueblo Foundation. We are getting ready to launch our comprehensive campaign, going public with that campaign, we believe, in January, when we will have and to raise that money by 2028. We will go public when we've reached a percentage of that we feel comfortable that we're going to reach our goals. We believe that's going to be in January. The title of our new campaign is called The Drive. And we will be introducing the drive to you officially in a little bit of a later time, but I want to preview the work we're moving closer to this. We've also, with the support of the system funding and the Vision 2028 funding, have hired our first 2 regional development officers who will office out of the system office at 555 17th Street in Denver. Again, a facility that we're not paying rent on that was offered to us. Our regional development officers will be helping us raise money for the foundation, and we will be introducing them to you at a later time. I also want you to know this about our foundation. They have raised about approximately $70,000 in a campaign called Embrace the Pack. And that money went immediately to students in need as a result of COVID-19. Recently, our foundation has recently raised and awarded $19 additional thousand to 24 students. And what they've been able to do is to lower their accounts payable, their bill, down to below $500, allowing them to re-enroll at the university. And TK informs me that they have another $55,000 remaining to help students with additional financial holds. So I want all of you to understand the importance of the Csu Pueblo Foundation, the leadership team and the employees of our foundation, and all of the trustees to helping expand the appeal of this university and allowing our students to be successful. So thank you, TK and team. That takes us to the pathway forward, which is navigating. And what I'd like to share with you about navigating is the following. How are we going to navigate COVID-19? How are we going to navigate the strategic plan moving forward? Navigating HR enhancements and navigating a successful HLC reaffirmation. Before I get into the pandemic and the strategic plan, I want you to know the following. We will be communicating with you shortly about some enhancements to our HR functions at the university. There have been changes at the Department of Education around Title IX regulations, and as a result of that, we're having to do some rearranging of our structures. So we'll be introducing those enhancements in the HR department very soon. And I also want you to know that the HLC reaffirmation, our visit will be in November, and that work is well underway thanks to the help of Dr. Helen Capriolio, who leads cross-functional groups across the university to make sure that we're prepared for that visit. Today, I'd like to just focus my energy on the first 2 bullets. It's navigating COVID, and then the work ahead in terms of Vision 2028. So navigating a pandemic. Here's what I'd like for you to understand and just share a bit about the pandemic with you. The first thing that I want you to know on behalf of the leadership team is that it's not going to be business as usual. There's a lot of people who are expecting this semester. I don't think they're expecting, I think they're hoping that we can get back to a normal life. And unfortunately, that's not going to be how it works for this semester. So we're not going to be business as usual, which means there's going to be inconveniences. There's going to be disruptions. There's going to be distractions. There's going to be a number of problems. And so we're going to be making decisions to the best of our abilities, but it's not going to be as comfortable maybe as we've had in the past. The second thing that I think is important is it is our first pandemic. We have no history to draw upon. We have no research. We have no experience. This is the first time all of us have managed a university or who have worked for a university during a pandemic. So what we have done is we've all become students. And because we've become students, we have experienced firsthand what it feels like to be a student. And feeling like a student is we've been moved into a state of being uncomfortable. When you are uncomfortable, you're learning. And ladies and gentlemen, we are all learning. So we are doing our best to make decisions that are smart based on the information that is available to us at any one given point in time. We need to be prepared respond. And what I want you to know is that we're going to have positive cases on the campus. It's going to happen. What I want you to understand is that we've got a set of strict protocols in place about how do we respond and how do we communicate to those who test positive on the campus. And that will happen. What I want us to do is to respond in a not in an alarming way. We need to be calm about it. We've already had positives on the campus, and we've responded to those in a manner in which I would like us to respond moving forward. Where I grow concerned is around the hysteria of social media. So what I would ask all of you to do is to review the materials that we have forwarded, which are how are we going to respond. We've got a strict set of protocols, and we will follow. We will walk through that process, and we will communicate accordingly. And we've informed you of that process, so help us navigate the hysteria of social media, if you would. And then finally, the penultimate item that I wanted to share with you today is that every employee needs to be solutions to problems. Every day we receive problems and we solve those problems. But there's going to be a number of problems that need to be solved at the local level. Those do not need to be advanced to another level. I and we empower you to have the agency at the local level to make a smart decision based on the information and the guardrails that we've given all of you. Your call today is to help us solve those problems at a local level. And then finally, I want everyone to know that we're going to be changing our mind. And no one is going to like that. But what we say today, tomorrow, we might say something very differently. And when we do that, that will be intentional and purposeful based on new information that we've received. Our goal is to keep changing our mind to a minimum. But as science evolves and as information evolves, we're going to be agile, we're going to adapt to that new information as soon as possible. As we talk about navigating the vision process, 2028, I want you to know that we've received $3.2 million that we will invest in our second year of Vision 2028. We are going to be making a presentation to the Board of Governors in our next Board of Governors meeting, the annual report of year one. I will share all of that information with you for year one at a later date. But our plan for year two is to invest very carefully $3.2 million, and that includes 37 different activities, which we've already started. Implementing our new, there's two big pieces that I want to just preview today. We're going to be implementing our new advising model that we're calling the PAC Center, that Dr. Brian Vanden Heuvel is leading along with a cross-functional group of faculty and staff at the university. We will have an official launch of this new center where we explain in detail how we will support student success and increase our retention and completion rates. The new model makes sure that all students have an academic success coach who coordinates a set of services that include an academic financial aid and a career pathway, along with an assigned network of faculty and peer mentors. That is one of the big initiatives that maps to our three goals. And then the other piece that is important to the evolution of our university is implementing what we're calling Csu Pueblo Works. The Works model places a greater emphasis on experiential learning, and it allows our students to see how their learning connects to their professional careers. We have applied to be an experimental site with the Department of Education that would allow us to move federal work study dollars off the campus. We were very fortunate to be one of a very select few institutions who were selected for this experimental site by the Department of Education. As you know, many of our students have to work to be able to attend college. With Csu Pueblo Works, we will partner with employers in Pueblo, Southern Colorado, and place a number of our first and second year students into work that maps to their career goals for a career exploration experience. Students will receive college credit for their work contributions, as well as a salary that we will fund half of the student's salary, the employer will fund the other half. As students progress through their degree plans, they will also have the opportunity to complete internships and capstone experiences later in their academic career, and collectively, this is working to help socialize students so they're ready to enter their professional careers when they leave the university, and also that they have a portfolio of work that they can show to an employer. So that is the navigating the Vision 2028, and again, we'll be walking you through that in more detail at a later time. At this time, I'd like to share with you what we're calling navigating life-changing experiences. And this is what we do well in this institution. So I'm going to showcase some of the work that we do incredibly well. The university values experiential learning, as does I've talked a little bit about John Dewey before, having studied him in my doctoral program, an education philosopher who did most of this work in the late 1800s, and a pragmatist and very much a believer that you learn by doing, and more importantly, you learn by reflecting on what you've done. And so I want to constantly bring back to this group this notion of, as a university, we're focusing on learning. It's why we're all here. And we do not learn from experience alone, but we learn from reflecting on our experiences. I'm going to give you some examples and showcase how we're doing this well as we navigate moving forward. As you know, this is the Senate chamber at the beautiful Capitol in Denver for the state of Colorado. And Dr. Joel Johnson is the coordinator of the Political Science program and associate professor of political science. He makes available to his students each spring semester internship opportunities at the state capitol. During the spring 2020 semester, 4 CSU Pueblo students participated in the program. The 4 students interned in high-profile offices of Senate President Leroy Garcia of Pueblo, the chair of the Joint Budget Committee, Danae Escar of Pueblo, and Senator Tammy Story of Jefferson County. The students received exceptional remarks for their supervisors in the State Assembly. Their tasks included bill tracking, bill research, responding to constituents' emails, answering the office phone, and taking notes in hearings. To his delight, one student was charged with drafting a speech for his legislator. And one student reflected on his or her learning and had the following to say, which I think is important that we take time to read. Never did I think that it would give me so much more faith in state politics. I think that Colorado is in great hands. Although the COVID-19 pandemic interrupted my internship, I still believe that I came out of this a better political scientist and a better person. Again, an example of we do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. Here's another example. Every year we have a number of students who go to our campus in Todos Santos, Mexico to study with a variety of different professors who take students to this location. This is located in the Baja California Sur. And there was an article that was written in the state magazine that featured our students. I'd like to introduce you to Kiera Olson, who is pictured in this photograph. She's snorkeling with sea lions. Kiera is from the Colorado Springs area and is going into her 4th year at CSU Pueblo and is in her 1st year of the 3+2 biology graduate program. She's a pre-veterinarian student and she is studying ectothermic immunology with Dr. Fran Sandmeyer of the Mojave Desert tortoises that she told me in a conversation just kind of hang around the greenhouse. Kiera hopes to eventually attend graduate school at CSU Fort Collins to obtain, she's ambitious, both her doctorate of veterinary medicine and a PhD in biology. In reflecting on her trip to Todos Santos was a truly unparalleled experience. It was unique, it was emotional, it was absolutely unforgettable. I swam with sea lions and a whale shark, all in uppercase. I kayaked in crystal clear water. I learned about ecotourism, the area. I ate so much great food, learned an enormous amount, and was pushed out of my comfort zone, both language and culture-wise. I loved every second of it and would do it again in a heartbeat. We do not learn from our experience, we learn from reflecting on our experience. And because of that, we have a new advertising campaign that we're going to be launching that you will learn more about this week, titled Life Changing. You saw a teaser of this at the beginning of today's opening convocation. Explore new depths, reach new heights is the title of this billboard that features this student. You can also see in the upper right-hand corner, we're beginning to talk about the reach of our university as not only being Pueblo, but being Colorado Springs, and also being a part of the Todos Santos community. We will be launching the new ad campaign very soon, and you are all invited to a preview of this campaign on Thursday, August 20th from 4 to 5. It's a Zoom meeting where we'll talk about the Csu Pueblo marketing and a brand refresh with the company out of Denver who is coordinating this called Agency Off Record. They are also very much interested in developing new content and new stories for advertising campaigns, billboards, other collateral pieces, and are looking for employees who have been changed by working with our students, but also by talking with our faculty and staff and how you change the lives of our students through your work. So finally, ladies and gentlemen, as we bring this part of our convocation message to a close, I think it's important for us to return to the guiding principles of this university. Our mission statement is to help students navigate life in a rapidly changing world. As an institution, we're doing that around 3 goals. Expand the appeal of the university through enhancing student success and developing our people. If we do that, it's going to help us become the People's University. But all of our work is guided by the following principles. And what I hope that you see today is in the visuals and in my words, in our messaging and in our behaviors, you're beginning to see how the work that we did last year is becoming internalized. It's becoming a part of the culture of this institution. We are developing our people. We are living sustainably. We are engaging our place. We are empowering our students. We're transforming our learning. We're cultivating entrepreneurship. We're building knowledge. And we're impacting society. I am grateful to all of you. And before I make the next very special introduction, there's another group that I just want to acknowledge, and it's the men and women of our facilities and our custodial staff who keep this campus looking beautiful. Another group that are really stealth-like, but we need to recognize them because they're going to be doing an enormous amount of work to keep our buildings and our facilities clean. So I come from a family of custodians and facilities types of people, as does Rick. It's a group that's near and dear to us. And as you see them, I would just ask that you thank them for the work that they're doing to keep our campus clean and helping to keep us all safe from this virus. So special thanks to Craig Kaysen, Roy's campus, and all of the men and women who work in our facilities and our custodial staff. At this time, it's my pleasure, and this is a big one, to introduce our keynote speaker for today's convocation. I'm losing my voice a little bit, but I'll do that after I make this important introduction. To introduce Dr. Cornel West, who is coming to us this morning through a live stream from Princeton University. Dr. West's virtual visit to our campus is underwritten by Csu Pueblo's Hispanic Serving Initiative grants and programs. Dr. West is a professor of practice in public philosophy at Harvard University, and he holds the title of Professor Emeritus at Princeton University. He has taught at Union Theological Seminary, Yale, Harvard, and the University of Paris. Dr. West graduated magna cum laude from Harvard in 3 years and obtained his MA and his PhD degrees at Princeton. Dr. West's passion is interacting with a vast variety of publics in order to keep alive the legacy of Martin Luther King Jr., a legacy of telling the truth and bearing witness. West best known for his classics, Race Matters and Democracy Matters, and for his memoir, Brother West, Living and Loving Out Loud. Please help me welcome to our campus, Dr. Cornel West.
What a blessing to return to Colorado State University, Pueblo. I want to begin by saluting my dear brother, President Tim, one of the grand visionary and courageous leaders in higher education. Of course, I want to acknowledge my beloved Rick as well. The last time I was there, we had such a wonderful time together. I want to salute each and every student entering this unprecedented year in this magnificent institution. I want to acknowledge again high quality faculty, each and every one of them, the hardworking employees that keep the institution going. And yes, this is the moment for navigating through something that is unprecedented. And that means not just staying woke, it means staying fortified. So when we listen to the vision and the programs that flow from that vision from our dear brother, President Tim, I want to suggest today that we start with the Socratic legacy of Athens that says the unexamined life is not worth living, so that when we think about navigating, we're thinking about navigating from womb to tomb, from birth to life, and raising the most terrifying question any one of us will ever have, whether it's in the context of the pandemic or not, which is, what kind of human being are you going to be in the short time from womb to tomb? Which means trying to put an emphasis on courage, to think critically, an emphasis on being willing to be vulnerable with a sense of intellectual humility. Your precious family. I am who I am because somebody loved me. I am the son of Irene and Clifton West. I am the product of Shiloh Baptist Church. I flow out of a tradition of a Black freedom movement. I want to be conversant with what's going on the brown side of town. Yes, Black lives matter because brown lives matter. Brown lives matter because Black lives matter. Straight lives matter because gay and lesbian lives matter, and trans lives matter. Jewish lives matter. Catholic lives matter. We are distinct and singular persons and individuals who flow out of traditions that ought to say that there is a dignity and a sanctity in each and every one of us. That is the very benchmark of what education is all about. That is the very anchor, the very ground, the very basis of what the Greeks call paideia, deep education, not just cheap schooling. Cheap schooling is about information. Yes, we must have skills and information, but what takes place at CSU Pueblo is deep education, which takes that information and connects it to transformation that makes it life-changing, life-sustaining at the highest level of arete, which means for the Greeks, excellence, moral excellence, intellectual excellence, spiritual excellence. Well, let's just look very closely at what I'm talking about in terms of this navigation, in terms of being fortified, flowing from this Socratic legacy of Athens. Well, first and foremost, foremost. And in the Socratic tradition, it's a love of wisdom, to revel in knowledge, not just in curiosity, but perplexity. We must be very curious indeed, but when we're perplexed, we're wrestling with the things that really matter of life and death and joy and pain and sadness and sorrow and pleasure. But the deep pleasure is something that can fortify us to allow us to keep on moving in the face of catastrophe, in the face of crisis, never allowing catastrophe and crisis to have the last word, but never denying the presence of catastrophe and crises. Socratic, the courage to think critically for yourself. Here, the consciousness that is exploratory, that is experimental, that is improvisational. And what I said, you're flexible and fluid. You're not dogmatic. You're not locked into just one set of assumptions and presuppositions. In fact, here's the tough challenge that the Socratic legacy tells us, that we must learn how to die in order to learn how to live. You cannot navigate through life unless you are continually engaging in life-changing activities so that you are reborn over and over and over again. And there is no rebirth without death. What are you saying, Brother West? I'm saying that education in the form of Socratic self-examination forces us to give up certain assumptions, give up certain prejudices, give up certain presuppositions. And when you give those up, that's a form of death, so that you become more mature, that you become more wise, that you become more ready, fortified to navigate from womb to tomb, from birth to death. My dear brother, President Tim invoked the great John Dewey. John Dewey is the great theorist of the People's University, of democratic education, of recognizing that there is a spark of genius in the heart and soul and mind and body of every person, if they are willing to dig deep and allow themselves to die in order to be reborn, in order to be the best that they can be. And I define genius as the largeness of mind, the largeness of heart, the largeness of soul, the largeness of love. Now, granted, Socrates, as great as he was, as in love of wisdom as he was, never sheds a tear. He never cries. And anybody who has never shed a tear has never loved a person. It is impossible to be fully vulnerable to a person, not a principle, but a person, and not shed tears. You will shed tears at your mother's funeral, your father's funeral. You will shed tears when your friend betrays you. You will shed tears of joy when you graduate from Colorado State University, Pueblo. You will shed tears of joy when you pass that difficult exam that you weren't sure you could pass, but you allowed that self-doubt to die so that self-confidence could be reborn. You allowed that self-degradation to die so that self-affirmation could be reborn. And it's here where the prophetic legacy of Jerusalem comes in. Because as great as the Socratic legacy is of trying to get us to think critically, to become fortified intellectually, technically, professionally, that there's something Jerusalem says, lo and behold, you must learn how to love neighbor. Your brown neighbor, your black neighbor, your white neighbor, your indigenous neighbor, your gay neighbor, your lesbian neighbor, your trans neighbor, your neighbor in Guatemala and Ethiopia and China and Turkey, as well as your neighbor in Mexico, Canada. And therefore diffuse the Socratic legacy of genuine questioning with the prophetic legacy of genuine compassion to others, of a love that connects not just the wisdom to the policy, but also the policy to the people. That's what a people's university is about. The connection of mind, intellect, the heart, and soul. And of course, that prophetic legacy begins in Hebrew scripture that says, to be human is to spread hesed, loving kindness, steadfast love to the least of these, the orphan, the widow, the fatherless, the motherless, the poor, the persecuted, working folk. It doesn't trash rich folk, but it trashes greed of any folk. It trashes viruses of white supremacy, viruses of male supremacy, viruses of homophobia, viruses of transphobia, viruses of narrow nationalism that doesn't acknowledge the humanity of those outside of the borders, the viruses of any kind of trashing of immigrants. That virus that gets inside of the soul of a person, of a nation, of a community that can suck out the love. That's the prophetic legacy of Jerusalem. And I speak as a Christian, as I mentioned before, I'm a product of Shiloh Baptist Church. My legacy, of course, is the legacy of Frederick Douglass, of Harriet Tubman, of Martin Luther King Jr. I come from a black people who have been hated chronically for 400 years and keep dishing out love warriors. Keep dishing out folk like John Coltrane playing a love supreme. But Toni Morrison writing about be loved. Or James Baldwin saying love forces us to take off the mask we know we cannot live within, but fear we cannot live without. Take off that mask. Quit undergoing the charade. Quit undergoing the masquerade. Be true to who you are. The anthem of black people is lift every voice. Socratic voice, thinking for yourself. Prophetic voice, loving who you love and loving them in such a way that you're willing to serve, willing to sacrifice. And it ought to be for everybody, but the priority is the least of these. The priority is those who are catching the most hell. The prisoners, 25th chapter of Matthew says. And of course, there are secular traditions of this prophetic legacy. Secular versions that say equality, democracy, solidarity, freedom for everybody. And in fact, it's only when those who are in the most weak and vulnerable positions is when their lives matter that everybody's life matters. So there's always a universality, but it is rooted in a particularity of specific conditions and circumstances of those persons, that slice of humanity who is wrestling with poverty and decrepit schools and indecent housing and low quality education and not enough jobs with a living wage. That's what the grander democratic conception of education is all about. That's what makes a people's university so unique, so special, especially in a moment when our democracy itself is in such deep crisis. When the greed, when the corruption, gay brothers and lesbian sisters, Mexicans. It's so rampant and running afoot. But we can't be preoccupied with any form of evil, because the Socratic legacy of Athens and the prophetic legacy of Jerusalem says, never be surprised by evil, never be paralyzed by despair. You have got to get fortified in order to navigate in such a way that you become the person that you were called to be. And I want to accent this term call, because each and every student here at Colorado State University Pueblo, you have been called to do something that only you can do. To find your voice, just like a jazz woman or a blues man, not imitating anybody, not emulating anybody, not being a copy, not being an echo and just an extension of an echo chamber in some narrow silo. No, you are unique and singular. We focus on your needs, your distinctive needs in relation to the distinctive needs of others, but you have a Socratic and a prophetic calling to be able to think your thoughts, to be able to love your loves, and then to be a force for good. John Coltrane used to say, a force for real good. What is a force for real good? It's not being a Messiah. It's not being a savior. It's being a person who straightens his or her back up and digs deep in the dark corner of your own soul that only you know about, and transfigure that darkness into a light that shines. There's a wonderful song by my dear brother Bootsy Collins just released called Stars. He said, it looked like we live in a market-driven, commodified culture. Everybody wants to be a celebrity. Everybody wants to be a star. Well, we are reminded at Colorado State University Pueblo that stars have no names. They just shine. How deep is your shine? Everybody used to sing with Fannie Lou Hamer, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. And yes, our atheistic brothers and sisters can let all of that rich light shine, because they have a love, they have a concern of something bigger than their egos. They're struggling for something grander than their own individual situations. And our agnostic brothers and sisters too. And oh, our precious Islamic brothers and sisters, let us not forget about them. They're part of the prophetic legacy coming after Judaism and Christianity, with Muhammad creating in Medina this society that includes Jews, that includes Muslims, that includes a variety of different persons, in order to keep track of their dignity and keep track of their sanctity. And where does that leave us? But it leaves us with the 4 questions that I want to leave you with, raised by the great W.B. Du Bois. And you all will be reading about the great W.B. Du Bois. He's one of the greatest public intellectuals in the history of the American empire, in the history of the American experiment in democracy. And you always want to keep in mind that tension between the empire on the one hand and the democracy on the other. Colorado will tell you the story about how it used to be Mexico. How did it become the United States? What was the Mexican War about? What was Manifest Destiny about? How did the United States become 48 states within the continent and 50 with the 2 beyond, when they started with 13? Well, that's expansion. It's imperial expansion. Our precious indigenous brothers and sisters having to deal with the ugly consequences, the genocidal effects of that. How did half of Mexico get taken away in a war? That's not a putting down of anybody. That's telling the truth. And the condition of truth in the Socratic and prophetic traditions always allows the voices of the suffering to be heard. Now, the voices of the suffering are not always right. So it's relatively powerless. Truth is bigger than all of us, no matter what color, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation. Just like love is bigger than all of us. Wisdom is bigger than all of us. But we're all in quest together. We all in it together. Here I am in New Jersey. Here you are in Colorado. We are in it together. I'm with it. I'm in with Brother Tim. I'm in with Brother Rick. I'm in with all Keelan. I'm in with all of you all. But we must do it in such a way that we bring our distinctive voices to learn from each other, to be humble enough to receive from others and to give to others. So Du Bois raised 4 questions. He said the first question is, how shall integrity face oppression? Very important. Anytime you talk about the People's University, there is a centrality of morality, integrity. Integrity is not cupidity, just love of money and manipulation of others. It's not venality, in which you try to get over by any means, or obsessed with the 11th commandment, thou shalt not get caught. No. Integrity has to do with the great Jane Austen called constancy, moral constancy, a moral consistency. And yes, we will all fall short. Samuel Beckett reminds us, we try again, fail again, fail better. Try again, fail again, fail better. We keep bouncing back and we help each other bounce back. But how shall integrity face oppression? How shall integrity be preserved in the ways in which we navigate given these unprecedented circumstances? And it has to do that there is some of who you are that can never be bold. It has to do with memories of those who came before, who represented great examples, exemplars of integrity. Could be your mother, could be your father, your aunt, your uncle. It could be the best of Cesar Chavez. It could be the best of Carlos Santana. It could be the best of Tito Puente. It could be the best of Stevie Wonder, Aretha Franklin, or Kendrick Lamar. It could be the best of any of the examples of excellence and integrity in their callings, in their respective callings. How shall integrity face oppression? Let us never forget what the standards are, because we're living in a time in which people are casting standards aside. Integrity means nothing. I just want to be successful. We want every student to be successful, but don't confuse your success with greatness. We want you to be morally great, spiritually great, intellectually great, and financially successful at the same time. We want you to have prosperity, but we also want you to have magnanimity. What is magnanimity? Greatness of character as you navigate through life. Willingness to undergo life changing, to forever learn, to be a perennial student, but to always connect your quest for greatness so that you use your success for something bigger than just you. So it's not about you as spectacle. It's about you as servant. He or she is greatest among you shall be he or she who serves others, who has a scope of love of neighbor and a depth of deep compassion for others. You can only ascend to the highest heights when you've already dwelled deep into the depths of your own soul and you transfigure that and give whatever gifts you have in order to empower others. Integrity facing oppression. That's why my black people wear blues, people, because that's what the blues is all about. The blues is taking your own pain and transfiguring your pain in such a way that you can sing about it to touch somebody else's soul, to help them deal with their pain. Good morning, heartache. Let me sing about it. I know you got a heartache too. I know that somebody's wrestling with the virus. Somebody's wrestling with poverty. Somebody's wrestling with self-doubt. Somebody's wrestling with breakup and betrayal. But you can be fortified. as inhabitants of the People's University, you got to have a blues sensibility because you're about integrity in the face of oppression and the effects of oppression, but you never allow that oppression to have the last word. The second question Du Bois raises was, what does honesty do in the face of deception? All the lies, often hiding the crimes, all of the mendacity tied to criminality coming at one. How does one remain honest, to see through it, to see more clearly? Being honest, that's the question of Du Bois. That's the challenge of this unprecedented. The question is, what does decency do in the face of insult and assault? Decency, just being a decent, can be a revolutionary act in a moment in which there's so much greed and corruption and indifference to others. And never forget, as the great Rabbi Heschel used to say, indifference to evil is more insidious than evil itself. William James used to say, indifference is the one trait that makes the very angels weep. Indifference is precisely that coldness of the soul, that coarsened conscience that doesn't care, it isn't concerned about others. Oh, that's so pervasive these days, not just here, but around the world. And in fact, it has always been relatively pervasive in the history of our species. We fight democracy at the People's University, navigating from birth to death, fight against that kind of indifference. Integrity, honesty, and decency. That's what we're about. And last but not least is the last query of the great W.B. Du Bois. And he says, how shall courage face brute force? How shall courage face brute force? And here, of course, he's speaking about coercion. He's talking about cancel culture, pushing people out and dismissing people when you disagree with them. No, courage requires a humility and a tenacity. You're willing to listen to anybody, to engage agreements, because we can learn from one another even when we reject the conclusions of where people are. Courage. He's talking about courage in relation to violence. Of course, he's talking about Black people being not just enslaved to Jim Crow, to Jane Crow, and lynched and killed by police and killed by each. Talking about any human being who recognizes that violence is too much a part of everyday life here and around the world. But in the face of that violence, it can't be a matter of just counter violence contributing to more violence. There's got to be something deeper than that. There's got to be ways of getting at some of the roots and the sources of the violence. How do we treat people like human beings in such a way that we can abolish poverty, abolish decrepit school systems so that every student can go to a high quality school just like the well-to-do students? How do you abolish low wage jobs so that every worker has access to a decent life, that every citizen has access to health care? These are the challenges that Du Bois was talking about. Courage. But never forget, here Nietzsche is right. It's not simply a matter of having the courage of your convictions, but also having the courage to examine your own convictions, because you might be wrong. No one of us is always right. You might be wrong. So the courage to think critically begins with the courage to think about yourself, to question yourself, to examine yourself. But then with prophetic legacy of Jerusalem in secular and religious forms, the courage to bear witness, to take a stand, especially on behalf of those who have been degraded, those who have been spit on, rebuked, and scorned, not in the spirit of self-righteousness, but in a spirit of solidarity. Not just in the name of justice, any justice that's only justice soon degenerates into something less than justice. Love rescues justice because it cuts deeper than justice, just like mercy cuts deeper than justice. So the justice is crucial. Fairness is fundamental, but we're talking about something deeper that's spiritual, like caring for each other, being concerned for one of another because they're human beings. And for me as a Christian, because they're made in the image and likeness of God. No matter who they are, no matter what color, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation, no matter what national identity, that bring that morality and spirituality together in such a way that it's not dogmatic, it's not narrow, it's not exclusive, it's all embracing, but it allows our voices to be heard even in the midst of this pandemic with all of the viruses, be it corona, be it racism, be it sexism, be it classism, be it homophobia, transphobia, or whatever. And then the question becomes, can we actually do this in such a way that it has impact? And that's always an open question. The great T.S. Eliot, we had a politics I deeply disagree with, but had a literary genius that was undeniable. He says, ours is in the trying. The rest is not our business. We're not in full control of dealing with the ecological catastrophe. We're not in full control of possible nuclear catastrophe. We're not in full control of the wealth inequality as a form of economic catastrophe, or the political catastrophe in Washington with the dysfunctionality that we see in the White House, in Congress, or the spiritual catastrophe of persons who give up and cave in and sell out and view life as just a matter of transactions rather than transformations, who manipulates others, males with toxic masculinity who have to engage in conquest with women, or straights who have to degrade gays and lesbians because somehow they think it's a threat to their sexuality. Various forms of insecurity, of fear. And how do you work through that fear? What breaks the back of fear? Love and wisdom. What breaks the back of insecurity? Affirmation and execution of a call that is bigger than each and every one of us. Do we have what it takes, Colorado State University, Pueblo? And I say to you today that if we have enough person tied to integrity, honesty, decency, courage, rooted in the Socratic legacy, rooted in prophetic legacy, then there's always a chance of us being unstoppable and unsuffocateable. Keep moving, keep fighting, keep thinking, keep laughing, keep loving, keep communing against the grain, of course, but always against the grain. That's why we are here. Those who came before did precisely that in order that we could be who we are. Let us do nothing less for our precious younger generation so that they then will be willing and able to take it to the next level. Oh, what a year we have coming, what joys you have coming, what sorrows you have coming, what forms of life you have coming. Be fortified in your navigation. Be self-critical in your orientation, and most passionate full of empathy for others in your disposition under this grand leadership of my dear brother, President Tim. Thank you so very much. And I'm pulling for you. I'm pushing for you. And yes, I'm praying for you. Have a great year.
Dr. West, I don't know if you can hear me, but I want to thank you for those words of encouragement that are needed at this point in our semester. I want to thank you for your time and your engagement and sharing with us your words. I'm particularly interested in your ideas that I would share with the community of we're called to be at this university and we're called to do what. And that's something that I think is important. I know we're called to this institution to pursue the truth. And so I challenge all of us to do that with our students and with each other. And a part of that is we're called to listen and to understand and to, at times, we don't always have to agree, but we can strive for understanding. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get through our semester. We're going to get through it as a community. Not as a group of individuals, but as a community, and we are a community who cares for each other, and that's going to help us get through the next, get us through to at least some Thanksgiving. Including Convocation, I wish all of you well this week as you get settled back in, especially for our colleagues who are moving from the general classroom building to the newly renovated Center for Integrated Health and Human Inquiry. We will have a grand opening on Thursday. You're all invited to that. I want to leave with letting you know that I remain grateful to all of you. I thank you for being here today, and I encourage you to attend Dr. Abdul-Rahman's opening message this afternoon to 1 to 3 via Zoom. And then on Wednesday, I invite you to a virtual all-employee luncheon and presentation from 11:30 to 1. It's a grab-and-go luncheon and a virtual visit from our Chief Financial Officer for the CSU system. His name is Mr. Henry Sobene. He comes to us from the Governor's Office of State Planning and Budgeting, where he served as a director under Governor John Hickenlooper since 2011. There will be a Q&A at that particular session. Our Chief Financial Officer for the CSU system is a big fan of our work and wanted to be a part of our opening convocation. It's a great opportunity for all of you to meet Mr. Henry Sobene. I wish all of you well. Thank you. Have a good day.
In our rapidly changing world, lives change every day. Now it's CSU Pueblo's turn to change. We all have an idea of who we want to be, of what we want to do, and where we want to go. And for those who are part of our pack, that idea can become reality. Because at CSU Pueblo, we don't just change minds. We change sparks of interest into burning passions and unbridled potential into unlimited possibilities. Put simply, we change lives. And all those changes start right here. They start with on-campus, online, and hybrid classes and programs of every kind, with individualized attention and personalized guidance. They start with a thriving campus community and a sense of togetherness. But most of all, change starts with you. You have an idea of who you want to be, what you want to do, and where you want to go. And after going here, your life can go anywhere, because that's what CSU Pueblo is. Life changing.
Thank you for joining us for the Fall 2020 Keynote Address at Colorado State University, Pueblo. Thank you for joining us for the Fall 2020 Keynote Address at Colorado State University, Pueblo.